Tariro Chapter 8. Secrets in the Night. The evening sky above Zivhu village darkened slowly as my Chikor walked home from the Moyo homestead. Cold wind moved gently through the trees while distant thunder rumbled across the hills of Masvingo. But the teacher barely noticed the weather. Her mind remained fixed on Tariro. The child's thin body, the bruises hidden beneath her sleeves, the fear in her eyes, and the painful silence she carried. My Chikor had taught many children over the years, and she knew when a child was suffering. Tariro had once been one of the brightest students at Zivhu primary school, confident, intelligent, always smiling. Now she looked broken. Something terrible was happening inside that house. That night the teacher could not sleep peacefully. Again and again she remembered the tears gathering in Tariro's eyes beneath the musasa tree. "You can tell me the truth," she had said gently. At first the child remained silent. Then slowly, almost in a whisper, the words finally came. "My Lucia says I no longer belong at school." My Chikor felt pain tighten inside her chest. "And your uncle?" Tariro lowered her eyes. "He says nothing." The teacher noticed how carefully the child chose her words, as though afraid someone might hear. "Are they feeding you properly?" My Chikor asked softly. Tariro hesitated, then quietly shook her head. Tears rolled down her cheeks while she spoke about the endless work, the beatings, the long walks to shops, and sleeping inside the dusty storage room. By the time she finished speaking, my Chikor's own eyes had filled with tears. No child deserved such suffering, especially not Tariro Moyo's daughter. The next morning, my Chikor visited an elderly village elder named Zivhu. His small homestead sat near the edge of the village surrounded by cattle kraals and old mango trees. Zivhu had been Tendai's close friend for many years. When the old man welcomed her inside, he immediately noticed the worry on her face. "What troubles you, my Chikor?" The teacher lowered her voice carefully. "It is about Tariro." The old man sighed heavily. "I feared this day would come." My Chikor looked surprised. "You already suspected something?" Zivhu nodded slowly. "Since Tendai died, many things have not felt right." He stirred his tea quietly before continuing. "Tendai loved that child deeply. He would never allow her to stop school or live like a servant." My Chikor explained everything Tariro had revealed. The hunger, the beatings, the suffering. As she spoke, anger slowly darkened the old man's face. "That child is being destroyed inside her own father's home," he whispered painfully. Several hours later, word quietly spread among a few trusted relatives and elders. Some had already noticed Tariro's condition but feared interfering without proof. Now concern slowly turned into suspicion, especially regarding the deaths of Tendai and Rudo. One elderly aunt spoke carefully. "They died too suddenly." Another nodded. "And Joram took control of everything immediately afterward." Though nobody openly accused him, doubt slowly entered people's hearts. That same evening heavy rain clouds gathered over Zivhu village again. Inside the Moyo homestead, Tariro worked quietly in the kitchen preparing supper while Lucia complained endlessly beside her. "You are cutting vegetables too slowly." "Yes, am I." "And the floor is still dirty." "Yes, am I." No matter how hard she tried, Lucia always found another reason to insult her. As supper cooked over the fire, Joram entered the kitchen carrying several bottles of beer. "We have visitors coming tonight," he announced. Lucia smiled immediately. "Business friends?" Joram nodded proudly. "Important people." Soon several men arrived at the homestead laughing loudly. They sat inside the sitting room drinking beer and discussing business while Tariro moved quietly between the kitchen and dining room serving food. The men praised Joram openly. "You are managing Tendai's businesses well. You have become successful quickly." Joram smiled proudly while accepting the compliments. But as the night continued and more alcohol flowed, the conversations became careless. At one point one drunken man laughed loudly. "Ah, Joram, after your brother died, your life changed completely." The room suddenly became quieter. Tariro froze near the doorway carrying empty plates. Joram forced a stiff laugh. God works in mysterious ways. Another man leaned back in his chair drunkenly. Still, people were shocked by how fast they died. Lucia quickly interrupted. Enough talking about death. Eat your food. But tension had already entered the room. Tariro quietly returned to the kitchen carrying dirty dishes. Though she remained silent, fear slowly filled her heart again. Deep inside, she had begun wondering the same thing as everyone else. How could both her parents die so suddenly on the same night? Hours later, after the visitors finally left, Lucia angrily ordered Tariro to clean the entire sitting room before sleeping. The child worked quietly while exhaustion weighed heavily on her body. As she bent beneath the table picking up empty bottles, something suddenly caught her attention. A folded paper had fallen beside one of the chairs. Curious, she picked it up carefully. Though some words were smudged with spilled beer, one sentence remained clear. Transfer of ownership. Tariro frowned slightly. Below the words appeared her father's business name. Fear slowly crept through her chest. Before she could read further, Joram suddenly entered the room. His face darkened immediately when he saw the paper in her hands. Where did you get that? Tariro jumped in fear. It fell under the table. Joram snatched the paper violently from her hands. For several seconds he simply stared at her coldly. Then quietly he spoke words that sent chills through her body. Some things are none of your business. That night, lying awake inside the storage room while rain beat softly against the roof, Tariro could not stop thinking about the paper. Or the fear she had seen in her uncle's eyes. And slowly, for the first time, the child began suspecting that her parents' deaths had not been an accident at all.